mountains of northeastern Africa lies the ancient kingdom of Ethiopia, once ruled according to legend by the Queen of Sheba. Many ancient cultures have left their mark on Ethiopia. Far back in pre-Christian days, Egypt and later Greece each gave its tithe. Next came the Christian religion, to which the nation has ever since been faithful. Then 25 years ago, there came to the forefront a young man of the royal blood who had progressive ideas. His name was Ras Tafari Makonnen. As heir to the throne, he realized that Ethiopia, or Abyssinia as it was often called, could not hope to remain an independent state in a progressive world unless it moved with the times. He set out to modernize his country. He planned modern communications. He studied Europe's social sciences in person. He revised his country's laws. In the year 1923, he applied for Ethiopia's admission to the League of Nations. His request was granted. Ethiopia took her place at Geneva with the nations of the world. In 1928, he became Negus, or king. In 1930, followed his coronation as Emperor, Lion of Judah, King of Kings, Haile Selassie I. Steadily, he pressed on his policy of reform. But before that policy could bear fruit, the blow fell. For many years, Italy's eyes had coveted his beautiful land, its fertile soil, its lakes and forests. Foiled nearly 50 years previously in her rapacious schemes, Italy took advantage of Europe's distractions to play the aggressor. The junior partner of the Axis marched forth to rape her fellow member of the League of Nations. As she well knew, the Ethiopian army was not equipped to withstand Italian guns, tanks, aeroplanes, mustard gas. Despite heroic defense, Ethiopia was overwhelmed. The emperor escaped the invaders and found sanctuary in England. The country has now become Italian East Africa. Mussolini starts intensive colonization regardless of cost. While the Italians constructed these fine buildings, new roads, modern communications, the subjugation by force and bribery of the Ethiopian people continued. For the wounding of Viceroy Graziani in 1937, 2,000 Ethiopians paid with their lives. Meanwhile, resistance to the Italians continued. The Ethiopians were convinced that liberty again would dawn. They bided their time in hope and confidence. On the 10th of June 1940, Mussolini joined his Axis partner in time, he hoped, to share in yet more spoils of war. But his pride and his greed were soon to be cast down. The forces of freedom were on the march. Regiments from South Africa, India, and the British territories of East and West Africa, Free French and Belgian allies, Ethiopian patriots, marched in from Kenya, the Sudan, and British Somaliland. Emperor Haile Selassie had flown from England to the Sudan. Nearby the Ethiopian border, he organized his patriot forces and after an absence of 5 years returned to his own land. His people rallied to him and fought heroically side by side with their British allies. Once more, Ethiopia became a nation in arms. This time, it was a war for freedom. In 60 days, the Italian army is defeated. The capital, Addis Ababa, recovered. The Transvaal Scottish enters the city in triumph. The emperor returns to his capital on May the 5th, the anniversary of the Italian occupation. While war rages in the rest of the world, peace returns to Ethiopia. Faithful to her promise and to the principles for which she and her allies are fighting, Britain has brought her might to aid its rightful owners in freeing Ethiopia from the grip of the aliens. An agreement between the British and Ethiopian governments is drawn up. Major General Sir Philip Mitchell, representative of the British government, is seen conferring at the British legation in Addis Ababa with Brigadiers Dimmelin, Lush, and members of the General Staff. Meanwhile, the reorganization of Ethiopia commences. 35,000 Italian civilians, many of them women and children, who still remain in the country after Italy's defeat, have to be evacuated. With the limited railway facilities available in Ethiopia, the evacuees were brought down to the large camps to await repatriation to Italy or internment in British Africa. But for this, Ethiopia would have had to carry the heavy cost of their support, hitherto borne by the patient Italian taxpayer. Newcomers are given help and advice by uniformed Italian Red Cross nurses. This vast task is undertaken by the British authorities at the Emperor's request. Everything possible is done to guard the health and welfare of this unhappy population, which had of necessity to be uprooted. Those already installed in the camp are seen at their daily laundry work. The welfare of the children is not overlooked, and they are well cared for in these surroundings while waiting for ships to be sent for them by the Italian government. On the 31st of January 1942, the Anglo-Ethiopian agreement is ready to be signed in the Emperor's palace at Addis Ababa. Guards of honor provided by the King's African Rifles and the new Ethiopian army arrive at the palace. The British Plenipotentiary, Major General Sir Philip Mitchell, takes the salute. His Majesty the Emperor enters the great council room of the palace and takes his place for the ceremony. When copies of the agreement in both English and Amharic have been signed, we hear the voice of the British Plenipotentiary as he speaks on behalf of His Britannic Majesty's government.
Your Majesty, on this happy and auspicious day, there falls to me the great honor and privilege of congratulating Your Majesty and your people upon the final realization of the hopes which have sustained you in the years of oppression that are now past. This day marks the end of the years of bondage and the completion of the liberation of your country from the yoke of the invader.
The ancient kingdom of Ethiopia is once again free. The first of the countries stolen by Axis aggression has been given back its liberty. So before long shall it be for all the countries that lie in the bondage of the aggressors.